Hey guys, it's Cassandra Williams with Teaching Tips for EI 360, Educational Innovation 360. Today we're talking about AI. Are you using AI? AI in the classroom is a big thing, and you should be embracing AI, especially with all the tools. So this hopefully is a practical, ethical, and of course empowering way to use AI tools in the classroom, and thinking of how we can use AI to kind of streamline your instruction, thinking of what are the safeguards that need to be in place, and always think about the ethical implications and ethical concerns that you need to embrace when it comes to utilizing AI in the classroom. All right, AI, when we first saw it kind of come out, it kind of hit us like a truck. It is not a trend like we thought. It is kind of changing the educator role forever. And so thinking of 60% of K-12 principals are using AI, which was mentioned in Ed Week. How do we personalize learning with AI? Thinking of how do we reduce these rote routine barriers. We know it is continuing to accelerating and the shift continues. And so what are we doing to personalize learning in our classrooms? Because I feel like it's a game changer, and we have to kind of balance good pedagogy, like, what good practices with teaching and education and AI. So trying to learn how to balance that, and even thinking of SAMAR, when we're always incorporating new technology in the classroom. All right, so I'm going to just kind of quickly talk about some of the tools that are being used, right from the chat box, looking at Gemini and planning, communication, what are you doing for quizzes, rubrics, even parent communication, school AI, Magic School AI, thinking about how do we emphasize personalized learning, like what platforms are out there, what are the algorithms that are used for pacing content for individual use for students, and really is crucial to differentiate instruction for students at scale. What are we using for tutoring systems? Thinking about how do we fill in the gaps for our learners that are struggling, and how can we specify targeted feedbacks for students who need it, right time, right now support. And then of course, I hope you're using some type of automation for grading, right, to save time. A really huge fan of Matt Miller. Really, Matt Miller, when he wrote Dish That Textbook, it was really big in a crucial time of AI. So what are we using it for AI is think of some of the applications that you're currently using. What can you try to boost content, creativity, engagement? We are using AI to kind of think about content and what that looks like when we're generating slides, using it for activities, for the learning apps, from VR to AR, thinking of what that looks like from language learning, looking at pronunciation, conversational skills via apps. Then think about immersive learning. How are we using it for the VR and field trips and like labs we can do externally. So there's so much that you can do with AI. So there's so many practical tools that you can actually use with AI. Thinking of the how, right? You can use personalized instruction, really thinking about like customizable path for diverse learners. How do you reduce administrative workload, right? Automation, which frees up your teaching time where it comes to grading, even sometimes preparing mini lessons for extended activities, lesson planning, thinking of, scaffolded lessons for pull-out groups, and individualized student needs, and then last but not least, thinking of how do we create hooks for engagement, to enhance constant motivation of learners. So all these things are, we already have the curriculum, we already have the content, but what can we do to either extend learning, support learning, or make learning that much more fun and engaging? So some of the high level use cases I always think of is, of course, feedback. It allows teachers to give fast feedback for timely content. It used to be where, okay, I would grade the papers would take so long for me to give you feedback, but now we can give feedback very quick on a lot of the content. Thinking about how do we support students with diverse languages, where we can give great imagery. It can level the play field for our ELLs, and we can create imagery around certain vocabulary, and it prevents language barriers. A lot of teachers are using Google Translator, but really thinking about truly incorporating content that is multilingual based on the students in your class. We also have digital literacy, thinking of, what are some AI tools, what are some study sessions, we can do inquiry learning, we can prevent bias around digital literacy, and just create content. And also with the professional development side, thinking of how do we, as leaders or coaches, create simulations, feedback, so we can consistently give feedback, teacher loops, keep people on a database, think about workflows for our educators. Those are as coaches or instructional leaders, but if we can do that, workflows for teachers, then we can do those same workflows for students. When we're thinking about learning automation and little snippets of content, and then another snippet of content when the content is completed. So you've been to college, you've been to school, and I encourage you, whatever you do through AI has to be through the lens of we read the content after you do it, because it's not always right. We know it hallucinates. And so looking at the challenges, that is number one. AI is not always accurate. So being able to verify the links, the articles, where it got the information from, because I think what AI does a good job of tracking, especially Perplexity, tracking where they got the content from. And so that will give you kind of the rabbit hole they went down, so you can kind of backtrack to see where they got their resources from. Always think about biases. There was a time when you typed anything on African American culture and it was so wrong, so wrong. And so now you're starting to see more learning happening in the LLM, but it's still it still has a long way to go. And so being very aware of when you're talking about getting a diverse literature, diverse context, diverse content, you again track that rabbit hole of where you got this information from, and of course your sources inside it. You always have the plagiarism concerns. I think we have plagiarism has always been a thing. So really being able to have tools and policies in place in your classroom to talk about, like, what does it mean to be ethical, and how do you redesign assignments to where you emphasize the process and not kind of the product. And then last but not least, the privacy and security concerns, how your data is stored, where are you putting it, and then being able to be clear about these privacy policy data. It may be that you are the teacher writing the policy for teachers and your school, but being on the same page in the school it matters. You want to make sure your policies are aligned either with the district, and some districts they don't yet have policies yet, but we are hoping that we are moving in initiative to start having policies around AI. All right, last but not least, the future. We always say, here are my big key takeaways. Offer tools. I would, you can offer a variety of tools, but I would start small, really thinking of what are your norms and policies first, and then I would grow with my colleagues. AI is one of those things that we know are the next steps for educators. We know this is something we need to start digesting, but doing it in a silo really doesn't create the momentum that we all are in it together. So really thinking of how do we start small, simple needs that you can kind of address in the classroom, and then two, think about developing policies around what is ethical, what is not, and even having an ethical discussion with your class, and then constantly stay informed with what is going on, what people are putting out there. How can we use this as a way for students to learn and grow? So I hope these tips help. Like I said, AI is not going anywhere. We are learning to embrace it and figure out what are we pulling from it, how are we going to use it to implement into our school, and how are our students going to use it. So I hope these tips are helpful. Talk to you later. Bye.